Hello and welcome to Power to the People with me, Graeme Pryce. It's hard to know where to start, really, isn't it? We all knew it was quite a likely outcome, and it turned out that those who were predicting a Trump victory were correct. I thought it was going to be close, and I have to admit, I started to believe Kamala Harris was going to win a narrow victory in the last few days. But it was obviously not meant to be. In the end, it wasn't even that close at all. I did want to say something on Wednesday, but after being up all night watching the results on Tuesday and then my usual guitar practice session on Wednesday, I was a bit too tired and too emotional to gather my thoughts properly. I'm going to try and keep it short, as there's no doubt hundreds of people like me putting out videos on this topic. I'm sure I'll have more to say about it in the future. But for now, I just wanted to give you my opinion and hear a few of yours, hopefully, right after this. Alright mate, sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to remind you to check if you're subscribed and if you've rang the bell. Leave a comment and let me know what you think, if you agree with me or not, or if you think I'm a complete bellend. I don't really mind. It all helps with the algorithms and pleases the gods of YouTube. Plus, it's very, very much appreciated. Cheers, la. I was quite upset on Wednesday, I'm not going to lie. But I do think I slightly brought it on myself as well. I made the same mistake in some ways that I did in 2015 with the UK election. And I spent weeks looking at the words and videos and statements of people I agreed with. Other people who were interested in politics and have the information to make proper informed decisions. I also made a habit of watching a few live debate channels over on TikTok, and the more I saw that every Trump voter that called into debate was a low information, voting on vibes type of individual, the more I thought, well, surely only idiots and horrible people are intending to vote for Trump. Well, there may be some truth in that. But it's now clear that a lot of people voted for him for a variety of reasons, and they weren't all idiots or evil people. What continually surprised me when I was watching those call-in debates was how little information some of the people that were intending to vote for Trump actually had about him. It's often said that America likes to do everything bigger, better and more dramatic than any other nation. And their media sources are certainly a reflection of that. I started to see that even the average British person with a passing interest in US politics like myself had far more information on Trump than the average American voter. It would go from one caller that was entirely unaware that he'd been convicted of 34 felony charges to another that had absolutely no idea that he'd been found civilly liable for actually raping a woman. They'd say, yeah, but Trump is going to drill. Then get absolutely furious and have a tantrum when they found out that actually there's been more drilling and more fuel and energy produced under Biden than there ever was under Trump. Or they'd say, yeah, but I had more money in my pocket when Trump was in office. And then they completely disregard the pandemic and global inflation and literally blame Joe Biden personally for the fact that a packet of eggs had gone from $1.39 to $1.89. They'd sit there and be told of all the disgraceful things Trump has done and said, and then they'd say, yeah, it's just a witch hunt. Or they'd say, well, I think that's just lies because the Democrats don't like him. And they go away having learned absolutely nothing. Still, with the intention of voting for what is clearly the most obviously dangerous man to ever enter US politics. They could do this because the media streams and sources they followed are utterly dishonest. Fox News is basically GBBs on steroids and with even less accountability. When Trump said that he wanted to surround himself with the same kind of generals that Hitler had, they brushed it off by saying, he just meant that he wants to surround himself with loyal people. Or, he just meant he wants to be a strong leader. But that was just when Fox News massaged the truth slightly. There are many, many times when they deliberately shared misinformation and were fully allowed to do so. In much the same way that the Daily Mail and GB News told you lies to convince you to vote for Boris Johnson or Brexit, or think that Liz Truss wasn't an absolute tit. It would be easy to look at Trump and get angry with the US electorate for voting him into office, despite it being blatantly obvious that the man is a monster. But some blame lies with the Democrats themselves as well. Joe Biden should have stepped down much sooner, shouldn't he? Frankly, that debate he did with Trump was a pathetic mess. The only thing that stands out in my memory from it was the vision of two crazy old men arguing about their golf scores. Having said that, I literally can't bring myself to look at the news at the moment. We know the people that Trump will appoint to his cabinet will be bigoted, racist, transphobic, low intelligence morons, much like the majority of his supporters, who believed him when he said kids were going to school and coming home a different gender after having surgery forced onto them. Or when he said the folk of Springfield, Ohio were eating the cats and dogs. Or when he said that doctors are doing abortions after the baby is born. That's not an abortion, Donald. That's just murder. That's not happening. Well, you know that, didn't you? I'm not very keen on babies, personally. I think they look a little bit like a cross between a baked potato and E.T. And they smell like the bits of digestive biscuit that have dropped off and sunk in your tea and you find them at the bottom of your cup. But even I can see that not wanting babies to be murdered is probably going to be a vote winner. So if you can stand on stage and lie to millions of people and tell them that your opposition is in favour of murdering babies, I can see how that might have an effect. Donald Trump had no qualms whatsoever about telling that lie. Of course, nobody chooses to be stupid. And if you live in the middle of Oklahoma, think running water is a new innovation, married your cousin and literally only watched Fox News on an old cathode ray TV for half an hour a day, I can begin to understand how you might think that Trump is the Messiah and not be aware of any of the worst things he's done or said. Willful ignorance is a different matter though. I think we have every right to be angry with the people who know exactly what he is and voted for him because they like what he is. The ones that don't respect women enough to care that he's a rapist. The ones that are white supremacists and actually like his racism. The ones who are so tribalised that they'd vote for the devil himself if it thought that it would own the libs. I think we have every right to be angry with those people and every right to be concerned about the intentions of the kind of man that appeals to those people. Keir Starmer and Kemi Badenoch and all the right-wing knobheads at GBBs and such like are treating this like it's a normal election. I'm reminded of books I've read about Nazi Germany and how the day after Hitler took office, there were people just trying to ignore his fascist tendencies and saying, oh, well, he can't be that bad. Or all of the things he said were just to get elected. He doesn't really want to eradicate the Jewish race and conquer all of Europe. He did want to eradicate the Jewish race, and he wanted to conquer more than all of Europe. Trump told everybody in America exactly who he is and what he intends to do, and they ignored him because it sounded just too crazy and too terrible, and they believed he'd never have the support to get away with it anyway. Well, now he's the most powerful man in the world, and as we speak, he is surrounding himself with people who will gladly carry out his craziest demands and willingly do terrible things to keep him in office, or to keep themselves in office, or appease him. And what happened last time we appeased a dictator? Over 300 million people died before the cowardly little man with the silly moustache blew his own twisted brains out in a bunker rather than face the consequences of what he'd done and be caught. I wonder how many will die before we see the end of the funny little orange man with tiny hands and silly hair. Time will tell, won't it? Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far and listened to this much of my ramblings. I think one of the reasons I'm so sickened by Trump is because I've learned so much about him in the last few months. Far more than a lot of the Americans who voted for him, apparently. He truly is an absolute monster of a man, and is very clearly the nearest thing to fascism that any Western country has seen in a long time. It's difficult to find a silver lining, but Trump's sheer stupidity could be one of them. Smart evil people get evil stuff done. Stupid evil people who are too incompetent to carry out their twisted desires don't get as much done though. We've seen that repeatedly in the last 14 years from the Tories. So he might literally just be too stupid to achieve anything and just drag America into another 4 years of stagnation and economic decline, like he did last time. In the meantime, we have to pick ourselves up and move on. Remember, this wasn't entirely unexpected, and bear in mind that 4 years, it isn't that much of a long time really. Though having said that, 1940 to 1944 wasn't a very long time either, and look what happened there. That being said, if you really want to look for an angle to cheer you up a bit, try this. Imagine the disgusting sycophancy and arse-licking we'd see, and the effect Trump would be allowed to have on the UK if the bastard Tories were still in office. They'd be over the moon, wouldn't they? So I'll leave it there for now. If you want to support myself and the channel, you can find links to PayPal, Patreon, or the Buy Me a Coffee page for one-off donations in the descriptions box. And the join button for memberships is always below. It does help loads and it's very, very much appreciated. Oh, and if you haven't done so, hit the like button before you go. Now, obviously, this isn't all I have to say, but it is as much of what I've got to say as I'm going to say today. Ta-ra-la. Dirty Maggie May, they have taken it away, and she never walked down Line Street anymore. Oh, the judge, he guilty found her, a Robin homeward bound her, that dirty no good Robin Maggie May. I got a little bit carried away there.